Yeah, I mean, they could, the government had decisions to make, and they opted clearly for this universal, no limit deposit insurance, and they opted for taking duration risk off the banks by the new window at the Fed. Those are decisions that also have side effects and unintended consequences. I go back, and I wrote it in an FT op-ed this weekend. There were no perfect solutions here. This is the result of a series of policy errors that we now have to deal with the consequences. And what it tells us very clearly is that the economy is more at risk, and financial accidents are more likely because of all the mistakes that have been made, particularly by the Fed in the last few years. I've been warning with this.
But are you blaming look, the question is, do you blame the Fed and say Jay Powell did not take these issues into consideration and should have? Do you blame the regulators? Do you blame the executives of the banks? And what kind of personal responsibility do you think that the business leaders who put their money in this bank uninsured have?
So everybody is in this blame game because we had an environment for too long of ultra loose monetary policy where money was cheap. There was so much liquidity floating around that everybody could get a loan, and that encourages excessive risk taking. In the lead up to 2008, it was the private credit factories that were producing over time. This time around, it was the public, it was the central bank credit factories that were producing over time. Then we had a period where we could have adjusted, but we called inflation transitory. And then we didn't move fast enough, so we then had to slam on the brakes. That, if you're sitting in the back of a car and the driver is driving the way that they've been driving, you would be sick too, Andrew.